mission to keep as many men on as many guns for as long as possible. We call him God. Welcome to Combat Vet Vision. And now your host, Aaron Chief Seabird.
Hey, welcome to Combat Vet Vision. Hey, this is a platform where I've always been able to really kind of talk about things. SitchRadio.com has managed my platform in this live mode for many, many times. They're still going to have a lot of involvement in a lot of things that I do. I've used Brian Colburn to help me learn how to navigate this whole project, this whole system. And, he's getting ready to shut down the shop and do some things he's going to be doing it virtually throughout the rest of its time. So he's still going to be doing a lot of things and helping me out along the way. With that being said, I'm moving my platform to Instagram. If you haven't seen my Instagram, please check it out in the show notes. It has the links to this. My wife does a lot of the videos and she does the artwork for that, and I'll be kind of putting some stuff together. Talking about a lot of things. So it will move to Instagram. I think I'm going to be doing it on Mondays at 6 o'clock in the evening, 1800. That's Pacific Standard Time. And just talking about things that are going on. And I can also have I can have guests on that show. We can talk about some stuff. But I'm hopefully going to highlight it a little bit differently and do a couple things, and we'll see where it goes. And then Brian was just talking to me about how I need to strip the audio and put it through the process that he's got going on, and it will still go out to 31 different podcast networks across the galaxy, so to speak. This has been an interesting platform. It's really kind of pushed me into being maybe a little bit better at speaking, a little bit better at processing even my own thoughts and dealing with my own issues of PTSD, my physical issues, being able to really kind of concentrate on, what pathways I'm going and what pathways are out there, because I have a lot of really awesome guests that have been on my show to kind of highlight what directions they've gone, and just a huge plethora of things that are important to us as veterans, I feel, or me as a combat vet, how I want to process, how I want to deal with things. And on top of that, how many great organizations are out there causing some pathways to things. I will say one of the biggest issues and problems that we might have as an entity of veterans is that, there's all these organizations doing incredible things. There's only so much time that each one of us has to give to any one project, to include our families, our friends, our work, our life, whatever that might look like, that to pull a bunch of people together to really help each other along the way, sometimes it's very confusing, or maybe time consuming is very, time is a precious commodity. And so it's one of those things that you only have so limited amount of, and there seems to be so much of it. But when you put it all together, there's sleep, there's work, there's family, there's all those things I was talking about. So I know that it's a problem finding veterans that may participate in what you're doing and what you're particularly asking for, or what vice versa. And I will say that really what we need to be worried about more so is, are we reaching out and touching the passions and pathways of these veterans to really give them something that they would really like to go on, to really like to move forward with and continue developing that relationship with. That's an important factor for me. I believe it's an important factor for everybody out there. However, I'm all ears for what that might look like. I think we all need to learn to listen, to kind of feel, to understand what's going on with the people that we are surrounded with, good or bad. But I would hope that as we go forward in our endeavors, that we're always looking to surround ourselves with good people, good intentions, and good motivation and movements. It's one of those things that I always worry about, work on, and continually try to strive on. I've been doing a lot of things lately. I've been super busy. I apologize for not having a podcast last week. I was actually in Riverton, Wyoming, working on my stepfather's home. My stepfather passed away in October. Some of you may have remembered my podcast on some of that and some of those features. But I was there with my brother and sister, and we were this is a Vietnam vet on top of that, and Air Force vet, and he just got his VA probably. He finally went into the VA and got seen. It was really kind of difficult to kind of push him in that direction, and he got his percentage way up. I believe almost to 100 or 100, in dealing with everything finally. But that was like 3 years ago. So he waited all that time, and then his VA benefits really only lived with him for 3 years. So he only got to live with the benefit of the VA for 3 years, as he was trying to go through his retirement and doing some stuff and enjoying his life. And I believe he did. He was a firefighter for the Riverton Fire Department, and a bunch of different things. Pavilion. I grew up in Wyoming doing a bunch of things and understanding those things. But fishing and the beauty of Wyoming sometimes is amazing, and sometimes it's just flat sagebrush. You know, but it's really cool to see the antelope, to get back out there and see some things. And during that travel, I kind of put a little piece together for my Instagram on Combat Vet Vision, on just being able to get out and enjoy America, because that's a freedom that we're fighting for, right? And we fought for. Not all the time do we soak that in for a minute and just kind of feel these things. And this is me soaking in my podcast too, at sitchradio.com. Brian Colburn managing my podcast, Sitch Radio, making it happen, pushing me in this direction. I sit here right now and enjoy the freedom to be able to talk, maybe express something across this network that maybe will relate to somebody somehow, some way. And there are so many of us, so many of you that are out there that have a story to tell. And maybe maybe in your isolation, you also have a story or something that's on your mind, and you don't always know how to talk about it or articulate it. And maybe just maybe a little bit, this show or shows like it can help you articulate your thoughts enough to get out there and kind of tell your story, because you may not be able to fully enjoy the life that you've fought for, and the freedoms that you've given your time and effort for. Again, we talk about the commodity of time and how precious it is. A lot of us spent a lot of time in the military giving that up, and mind, body, and spirit as well. I was talking to my mom this morning. She kind of asked me she's like, hey, you grew up on a farm, you did all this stuff in Wyoming where you're growing food. But, I was a little kid at that time. I was trying to develop my mindset. And she's like, hey, you cut one of my trees and, you took a little too much. It may not live. Are you out of tune with nature and with things? And sometimes that's the case, because my mindset's on, this guy that I got a call that's dealing with suicidal ideations, and I need to put him into a facility, and hopefully I can help him guide his way through alcoholism and depression and isolation. And so my mind sometimes is geared towards a life and death moment. Sometimes, not all the time, but that's sometimes my focus. And then I'm like, hey, but I do have two guys that I'm working on trying to get into some facilities this week, and they're on my mind pretty heavily. I also have a lot of things coming up, a lot of events. Warrior Built just got done doing a really, they got done doing their golf tournament. They got done doing a off-road expo yesterday, or this weekend. The new machete is coming out, the class 11 bug that they race. So, I do a lot with Warrior Built and the PTSD Foundation of America. Warrior Built is vocational, recreational support for our combat vets. It allows the combat vet to be the prime driver of the vehicle, the whole thing. But, we have veterans and volunteers that are involved in that. They can be involved in Warrior Built. But the main member and support element of that is somebody who has a combat action device, or somebody who's directly been involved in combat. So those are the things that's specified in Warrior Built. The PTSD Foundation of America, that's anybody who served in a combat zone and might be dealing with some PTSD or related symptoms of that nature. We have a full 100 bed facility in Houston, Texas, where We send guys that are really dealing with some bad situations, and we have warrior groups across the United States that hopefully throughout the day, throughout any day of the week, you can go to a group and maybe online and maybe not need to go to Camp Hope, or maybe it helps you understand or process your issues. So there's a lot of really cool things with that, and there's so many other organizations I work with on any given day basis, whether it's finding a job opportunity, and some of those things have come to be a really cool stepping stone, and not just any job, because again, we talked about what is your passion and your pathway, and different things. So, this is my last live kind of podcast on sitchradio.com, but it's going to continue, like I said, on Instagram, and then talking to Brian Colburn about stripping down the audio and still putting it across the 31 different platforms that reflect Combat Vet Vision and other podcasts. So many really cool things, so many things that I've had the opportunity to do and to focus on. And like I said, I was super busy in Wyoming last week, and just trying to, and that kind of refilled me too, because I got to see my brother and my sister travel across the U.S. with my family, enjoy my truck for a minute, enjoy pulling off the side of the road and just smelling the sagebrush, because Wyoming's full of sagebrush. And interesting thing about Wyoming, it's the least populated per capita area, one of the least populated, not only in the United States, but in the world. So it's just kind of a weird phenomenon that, a place in the middle of the United States almost can end up being that way. But it is a very visited place, because, obviously it's got Yellowstone and a whole bunch of other really cool places to go to. I took the family to Thermopolis. If you're not familiar with Thermopolis, there's a buffalo sanctuary there, but right below it is a hot springs park that's really kind of set up, and it's really got some really awesome swimming pool situation. It's got a walk to across the bridge, and all the hot springs and the sulfur ponds and the sulfur flats. So really kind of some cool stuff. But that's at the end of Wind River Canyon. If you're not familiar with that, it's Indian Nation's sacred place on one side, and then just driving through that canyon is absolutely gorgeous in the middle of nowhere. Again, you have about maybe a 20-30 minute drive through that canyon. Spectacular sights, views, and water running through there. So just some really cool things. I saw some waterfalls in Utah, incredible spot where we stopped there, and some beautiful lakes there, and just some amazing parts of this country. And in the bottom of my heart, realizing that that's the freedom that I kind of spent 20 years of my life giving up, per se, because when it comes to the military, you only have so much time, and even if you have that time off, there's always a chance that you can get called back. And one of the times that I was on leave, I got called back, and so I understand, not just once, but I'd say multiple times that I was on leave, I had to get called back. But specifically, one time when my grandfather was passing away, and I was only able to see him for a short period of time, and I had to leave early. And then he passed away, so I never got to see him again. But it was after I went to combat. He was a World War II vet, and it was a cool connection when he said to me, he's like, "Now you understand." And I was taken back by it, but he wasn't doing so well. But he was like, he gave me a different look and a different appreciation, a different like term of respect to one another, one warrior to another. And it was just a unique moment for me. And for him to just kind of say that to me, kind of let me reflect on, I was part of a club, or part of a connection that you can only get once you participate in the arena of war, which is an unfortunate and necessary thing at sometimes. So, but hey, we're going to take a quick break. I'll come back with some finishing comments and different things like that. listen to the PSA. I want to say thanks again to SitchRadio.com for managing and producing my show and making it happen. Brian Colburn, who is this outstanding human being. Many different avenues of support from him. From supporting me to the PTSD Foundation to Warrior Build, coordinating so many different efforts of support in the arena of combat vets and our veterans, including himself, finally getting into the VA for himself too, and getting himself taken care of. And that's something that's big on the thing. So we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Did you serve in the military? If so, you can obtain a free lifetime pass to more than 2,000 federal recreation sites. These sites are located across more than 400 million acres of public lands, including national parks, wildlife refuges, and forests. The lands host activities to fit any lifestyle: hiking, biking, fishing, camping, and much more. Gold Star families are also eligible for these free lifetime passes. Plus, they cover entrance fees for a driver and all passengers in a car, or up to 3 additional adults at sites that charge per person. Obtaining one is easy. Just go to the National Park Service website, nps.gov, or the National Park Service app.
All right, we're back. Hey, thanks for the PSAs that the VA has graciously said, hey, this is a podcast that I'd want to have my stuff kind of go across to. So it's been really cool. Brian made that happen. That connection really kind of has been an outstanding thing. So, I haven't really pushed my podcast to generate any kind of funds. It's only for information and really has been there for that, and in the future, if it has that ability, it does. But, I haven't really pushed it hard enough to do that, because my real ultimate goal is to take care of combat vets, do everything I can with the Warrior Built and the PTSD Foundation of America, and really throw an effort out there to hopefully help out as many combat vets as possible, and also pace myself, because this whole operation of things that I do, this whole lifestyle that I've created, I have to pace myself, because I have to have time for my family, I have to have time for myself, I have to have time for my vets, and I have to blend it all in so that it works, because PTSD is not a 9-to-5 job. Even though America, you're trying to like place everything in boxes and like, hey, you got to work from this time to this time, and you need to calculate your hours, and you need to do this and this and this, and all these different things that come down from, like, I don't know, like if you think that, that a job is supposed to be between these hours, and then your life is supposed to be between these hours, and there's a management of like things. It doesn't work like that. In reality, for you to truly care, you have to give some time here, some time there, some time way out here, and sometime in the middle of the night, someone's going to call you and need you to kind of have just a discussion with you, or talk about anything with you, check in with you, whatever it might be. And if they don't feel like you're giving them that the genuine person that you need to be, it can be very ineffective to help somebody, or to support them. And help's kind of a weird word, because really we as veterans, I want to say, no matter how bad we are, we want to believe that, and I've seen this and felt it, no matter how bad we are, we feel like we want to help somebody else, but we may not do so well about helping ourselves. And I've talked about it, just in a few cases with my dad, with Brian, just getting into the VA and all this good stuff too. And myself is included. I didn't always like say, hey, I'll just put that off. I'll put that off because, hey man, it's for somebody else. It's somebody else needs it more than me, but we need to help ourselves. And then we need to have the ability to help someone else after, because while we're in the worst situation of our lives, sometimes we're like, hey, I just want to help out vets. I just want to help out this. I just want to help out that. That's not where you're ready to be. Sometimes you're ready to be a listener. Sometimes you're ready to be a helper. But even in the midst of listening to other veterans, and you give your story is going to help somebody else, because they're going to be able to pick and choose some puzzle pieces out of it that actually reflect and can actually sit into their lives. And they can say, hey, even if your pathway is so jacked up, they may look at it like, hey, I don't want to go down that pathway. So I'm going to choose to go a different route. And in doing so, and unfortunately, in having such a bad path, you've helped somebody choose a way better path. And those are the unfortunate things that happen with some of these things. And some of these paths that you've gone down, you've came back from, people need to hear that, need to understand it, and they themselves will deviate their pathway from actually going the same route as you, or they may not, but at least they have a lot more knowledge of how to do it than if they're isolating in themselves, not really having this one person conversation again and again and again is the definition of insanity, because you can't get past some of those things that you really need to discuss and talk about. And when you do it with others, now you've added a different stimulus in there and a different mindset to kind of reflect and mill some of those things out and maybe process them. And we're also afraid of triggers so often, but I believe those triggers need to be met head on, and sometimes they need to be talked about in a way and with a disclaimer that's super important for me to always say this. Say, hey, you may not sleep so good tonight because you've hit these triggers. You may not be dealing with things so well today because these triggers have hit. But if you think about it, it caused a process in your mind to kind of go through and say, hey, you can always mess with the trigger as long as the weapon's still on safe, everything's still good. But once you take it off safe, then we got problems. But it's the safety that we always have to worry about. It's not so much the trigger, because the trigger is going to cause some, different careful reactions or whatever it's going to do. It's going to cause you to mill it out in your mind and your heart and soul. And then maybe tomorrow night you might sleep a little bit better. The trigger might have helped you more than you think it did hinder you. At the time, it feels like very uncomfortable and very like, it got me thinking again. It's got my mind wired. It's got this, and this going. But at the same time, in the right situations, it's really imperative that you process these situations and make it a little bit better for yourself for the next day and the next day and the next day. Because these triggers hit all the time. They hit me all the time too. You just never know when it's going to hit. But what's really cool is how you deal with it afterwards. And knowing that you've been hit with this trigger so much, you know how to deal with it better and better every single time. And it's just the pointer for the afternoon. Hey, I'm gonna sign off here. I'm gonna tell you, thanks a lot for having me. Thanks a lot for being on this platform with me. Thanks a lot for going on this journey through, Sitch Radio's process. Catch me on Instagram Monday nights, 6 p.m. That's Pacific Standard Time. And until next time, hey, this is Aaron Siebert signing off. Strength and honor.
The only way time flows under blue skies. The only way, like the sun bidding goodbye.